So let's practice describing some matter using both subjective and objective terms or words. We're going to do that by completing this spreadsheet. And on this, we've got some different properties that we're going to use to describe our matter, like color, shape, texture, smell, flexibility, and hardness. And we're going to describe those properties using subjective words, objective words, and then let's try and go into even more detail with those objective words. So I'm going to be describing this leaf. It is fall, and I found this outside. And how do we describe its color? Well, subjectively, I might say, oh, it's a pretty rainbow. Now, this is obviously subjective because um, that's just my opinion, right? Maybe you think it's ugly. Maybe you don't think it looks like a rainbow. Maybe your idea of a rainbow is different from my idea of a rainbow. Shape, leaf shaped. Well, that's kind of subjective because so let's take some time now to do some practice describing matter using both subjective and objective terms so that we can really try to see the difference. We're going to do that by completing this spreadsheet that we have here. Um, First, we're going to be describing a fallen leaf. That's our matter. We're going to describe these properties, its color, shape, texture, smell, flexibility, and hardness. And we're going to describe those properties using subjective descriptions, objective descriptions, and then we're going to try and go a little further and give our objective descriptions even more detail. So I'm going to start by describing this fallen leaf that I just found outside. And color. Well, I said, oh, it's like a pretty rainbow. Well, that's obviously subjective because that word pretty right there shows that it's my opinion. I mean, I might think it's pretty, you might think it's dirty looking. Shape, leaf shaped. Well, aren't there lots of different shapes for leaves? So you might have an idea in your mind of what a leaf looks like, but I might have a different opinion. Texture. Oh, super smooth. What does super smooth mean? Does that mean it's more smooth than something or less smooth than something? Your idea of super smooth might be different from my idea of super smooth. Smell. Well, does it smell good, bad, delicious, disgusting? These are all subjective words, right? Because I think mushrooms are good. You might think mushrooms are disgusting. So these are all subjective terms. How about flexibility? Well, yep, it bends really well. But maybe I'm just really strong and I just bend things without even trying. Maybe for you it's harder to bend it. So it bends really well. That's pretty subjective. And then hardness, well, can I dent it with my finger? Well, yeah, it's really soft. It's very soft. Well, again, that's your opinion. You might think it's soft. I might think it's not so soft. It kind of depends on our strength. Am I trying to touch it with something that hurts right now? Because that might not make it feel so soft. So these are all subjective descriptions. I'm going to take a second now, and I'm going to see if I can change these to more objective descriptions. Okay, so I've tried to add some more objective descriptions. So for color, instead of saying it's pretty rainbow, I went ahead and described those actual colors. Right? It's red, yellow, and brown. No more of that word pretty. It doesn't matter if it's pretty. I might think it's pretty. You might not think it's pretty. Either way, we can all agree that it's red, yellow, and a little brown, right? All right, so shape, I went from leaf shaped to, I still said it was shaped like a leaf, but I gave a little more detail. I said with three main points. So one, two, three main points. So a little more objective instead of just saying leaf shape. For texture, what does it feel like? Instead of saying it's super smooth, I tried to describe how smooth it is, right? What does it compare to? So I said it's as smooth as a new t-shirt. Now that's not perfectly objective, but at least it gives us more that we can agree on, right? It's less opinion and a little more fact because I'm comparing it to something that everyone has experience with. Smell. I said it's a little sweet. I didn't say it smells good or bad or I love the sweetness. It just smells a little sweet. Flexibility. Instead of saying it bends really well, I tried to give a little more objective detail. It can fold over without breaking. So that's pretty objective, right? It can fold over and it doesn't break, which means it's pretty flexible. And then finally, hardness. Well, instead of just saying it's very soft, I said that you can rip it without using a lot of strength. So not only did I say how soft it is, that the fact that you can either dent it or rip it, but I tried to explain just how much strength it takes 2 rivets, so just not a lot of strength. Not the most objective words, but better than before, right? All right, so now I'm going to take another minute and I'm going to fill in that last section. I'm going to try and add some more details to those objective descriptions. Give me 1 second. Okay, so I spent some more time looking at my matter, and I was able to add a lot of details actually. So instead of just saying, the color was red, yellow, and brown, I tried to give it a percentage. I said it's about 80% red, so it's mostly red, with about 20% yellow on the bottom, and then there's brown areas all over the leaf, right? So instead of just saying red, yellow, brown, I kind of talked about where it was red, where it was yellow, how much was brown. Shape. So before I said it was shaped like a leaf with 3 main points, which was pretty good. But now I said it's shaped like a maple leaf with 3 main points, and also lots of little smaller points in between, right? You see all those little smaller points between the bigger points? So I tried to give more detail there. For texture, I said as smooth as a t-shirt, but I did notice that when you get near the veins of the leaf, it's a little rougher. So I said rough spots near the veins and the rips, right? So it's not perfectly smooth. It is mostly smooth, but there are some rough areas, and I tried to tell where. Smell, I said it was a little sweet before. I also noticed after smelling a little more that it was also earthy and it smelled a little wet, so just more detail. Flexibility, how bendable is it, right? Before I said I can fold it over without breaking, which is true, but then I played around, and if I really crease it, right? I really bend it in half and try to crease it, then I hear a crack. So I said I can fold it over without breaking. I have to really crease it for it to crack. So just more information about just how flexible it is. And then finally, hardness. I said before I can rip it without using a lot of strength. I had a little trouble thinking about what else to say, but in the end, I said I could rip it without using a lot of strength, but it is a little harder near those veins. Okay, so I started with subjective language, very soft, made it a little more objective. I can rip it without using a lot of strength, and then I tried to add even more detail that I can rip it without using a lot of strength, but it's harder near the veins. So that's what you're gonna do. All right, you are gonna take some time and you are gonna study some different types of matter. First, you're going to try to find either a metal or plastic clothes hanger and do the same thing. Describe it using subjective words. Then change it and describe it using this objective words. And then take another minute and really try to add more detail. All right. If you have time, I also have this. You could either do a pencil eraser or a kitchen tool. And then finally, if you get to the end, you can have your choice of matter. I know that this can take a little time, so try to get as many done as you can, but just go ahead and turn it in at the end of class, no matter what you got done. All right. So some of you are going to get all the way to here and describe some matter of your choice, and some of you might only get to here. I would hope that all of you would at least get this one done. All right. But if you want a 4, you're going to have to try to push it and get more done. Okay. Good luck.